How's it going, guys? As you know, I had the flu or the cold last week, and now it's full of pollen as well. So my voice might be a bit fucked, and my nose is blocked. So let's start off with looking at the chart now. It's been a while, probably close to a week with any decent price action. So we're just gonna do a top to bottom analysis of Bitcoin just to bring some context back into the picture. So we can start off with the weekly. And first off, if you look at the weekly candle, you can see that the candle that we currently working on and the previous one, basically the previous one, we had a larger sell-off, and then we had very sideways price action for many days. And the current weekly candle it's looking very small, right? I know it's only one day, but I want you to understand that the context that we are trading within is that we're having weekly low, previous weekly low, and this is the previous weekly high. Okay, so the range is very tight. That was sort of my point, right? So the current range is very tight, which can offer some issues because below previous weekly open and previous weekly low is sort of bearish context. Above previous open and above previous close is sort of a bullish context, right? So there's two, it's a narrative here that needs to be broken, right? So price will then go into a sort of a very low volatility, very low volume shape, because the context is a trend change to the lower or to the higher spectrum, because sort of now we're just sort of sitting at the point of control. So looking at the COT data, there was not a huge change. Last week we had some more long contracts coming in, but there was nothing significant, okay? Some more selling, I meant. And there was no significant change. So the volatility, as I said, the volume is very low in terms of anything at all. And on top of that, we also have the seasonality of price actually contracting, as I mentioned there. So you can see how price is contracting. We're seeing that now at the moment as well. All right, so this is sort of a difficult place. So just to keep it very simple, if you're starting to break and hold above, it looks like we would potentially want to fill in the void and the context within the lower spectrum. Okay, that's sort of the bearish side, very simple. The bullish side is that we had a sort of aggressive sell-offs that came like this, right? And then we sort of hit the brakes, okay? And now we may be starting to tick, the other way, okay? And then sort of move higher. That is sort of how a rounded bottom is formed, right? It's just volatility getting compressed and adjusted to the downside, so less, okay? And then price is forced to reverse and then move upwards. So that's sort of the weekly. Now, if you look at the daily here, there's a lot of things that is actually going on. So let's just do this kind of overview, which the context is a bit nicer. And you can see that we had sort of this is sort of the low volatility, the low liquidity place of the chart, which is sort of this place, okay? And you had a price move into that, quickly rejected. Now we're trading sort of above that. So as long as we're holding above this, that means that this is sort of turning into a stop run, right? It's basically that price just means that price was not accepted at that. And as I said last week, we tend to mimic the other side, right? So this is the other side. If you're going to mimic that, that means that this needs to hold. All right, so as long as that hold, we're trying to sort of create a bottom formation, sideways price action, and then that means the price will be forced to hold that, and we will get squeezed back to the upside. Okay, it's very simple price action, difficult to trade, but very simple when we discuss it in these terms. Now, if you look at the indicators here as well, we can close, so we don't need to close it, but I want you to just take a very quick look at the seasonality indicator here for a minute. And you can see that this is a place where we had sort of a bottom, and now we're coming into sort of the bottom formation here, okay, which means that we can have a run into June maybe. Yeah, even beginning of June, the whole of May here can be pretty bullish. Okay, and then we're going back into a contraction phase. So it's quite difficult, right? And then we can have another bottom around July, top in yeah. So there's not a lot of stuff going on, to be honest. I think we're gonna most likely be very compressed for a longer period, and you just want to be doing some quick scalps at this point. So that's it for Bitcoin on the daily. If you go to the 8-hour, we didn't have any other buy signals except the one that we had at the bottom here. You can see how we're holding. We're trying to do a change here. Okay, in structure, we're trying to change the way price and liquidity is moving, but still resistance will be capped around 64k, right? So this is sort of the resistance regardless, 63 to 64,000. Same goes for 4-hour. We didn't have any signals on the 4-hour. We just had some divergence coming in. Price fell to go lower, drove back up on low liquidity. Okay, and on 1-hour we had a few buy signals. We had some buy signals right there. We pumped over the right before the weekend, and then we sold off, and then we had another buy signal, and then we pumped back up. Okay, so you can see as we're being compressed now, you can see how the 1-hour buy and sell signals are very good, right? So you had buy signal, sell signal, buy signal again at the bottom. Now we're seeing a sell signal yet again. Okay, so this very compressed. It just means that price is going sideways, all right, and not a lot of stuff is happening. So with that being said, so just go back to whatever I'm looking for now, right? So I've been chopped a bit, took a few losses, a few wins. But what I'm looking for essentially, I want to see some signals here that I can execute on. Or if you're going to start breaking above 65,000, I will watch the weekly and see, sort of how we are shaping on the weekly and the daily. To just jump in on the lower time frame. If not, I'm just looking for buy signals on the 8-hour or the 4-hour. Right. So if you go back to S&P 500, if you look here at some of this, we can go to the daily. You can see how we're actually going to all-time highs. Okay, so this is the range low, back to range highs. Okay, so I think that's also interesting point here. So we're going into range highs, very low liquidity. We have some tiny sell signals, 4-hour, 1-hour, very low liquidity, some tiny sell signals. They are very worthless, but you get the point, right? So we just stair-stepping slowly up towards all-time highs before we're getting sort of a pullback. So I think that's all we can sort of say here. The dollar chart looking not too good on a daily. I think we can roll over slowly here, but volatility is extremely low at the moment. There's no clear trend. This shift is kind of bullish. I would like to see price coming back down, or else there's nothing too much to update. We can look at some of these altcoins trying to move back up. We can do a quick one. I don't want to bore you guys too much. I want to see how the New York session goes today, because I want to see how the market behaves when volatility sort of comes back into the market. So if you do here, we can do a daily. I don't want to go into a weekly at the moment, but on a daily, you can see we sold off. We're still hovering within the sort of the same concept, and the point I'm trying to make here, which is maybe difficult to many of you to see, is that if you have consolidations, you're having expansions lower, okay, and price is just moving to one side and to the other, right? So it's just sort of holding at the top or holding at the bottom and just going quickly back and forth. So it means that every time price sort of sells off, it tries to go back into the same level. So if this is the core level of liquidity, price is attracted to stay within sort of this proximity, right? And you can do that sort of to the downside as well. You can see here is a lot of these candle closes, but we're not trading within that price region that we're trading close to the higher. So see, every time price is moving, higher, it goes back into this level, goes lower, goes back. So you see price is just sort of hovering around that level. It just means that that's where most of the time price is accepted, because if price is starting to close and hold above this range high, means the price needs to start running towards the highs. Okay, and we are not within that phase just yet. I think AVAX kind of looks good. It's very low liquidity here, so I don't want to discuss too much here, but we kind of starting to look good. Let's say Ethereum as well, sitting at the low. We're starting to look good as well, right? So overall market is kind of looking decent, but there is nothing really tradable at the moment, because we're going in too high of a range, right? So I want to see price contract more. And if price is going to contract more, we actually need to sell off a bit more. All right. So I don't see anything actionable just yet. So, we just have to wait a bit more. Pepe is actually looking pretty good. Gala as well. So, but, these ones is not too important to me. RNDR, looking really good. So I think that's about it, guys. We just try to be a bit patient here and sort of see, where things will take us, see how price behaves, and then we can take it from there. Price is we're going from bullish to bearish just depending on one candle close. So that tells you the whole picture, how low liquidity we are, or what kind of a stage we are within. Okay. So that's it. I will update you as we go. From tomorrow, we will know much more. Okay, guys? Peace out.